You're broken down and tired of living life on the merry-go-round, and you can't find a fighter, but I see it in you, so we gon' walk it out. Move mountains, we gon' walk it out and move mountains, and I'll rise up, I'll rise up.
Good evening. Welcome to another segment of the National Council of Negro Women. I'm Alice Paylor-Dais, your host for the evening, and we have an exciting guest with us today. I have heard so much about this woman and never got a chance to meet her because she moves too fast for me. Our guest this evening is Renee Aldrich. She is an award-winning writer. She writes for the Pittsburgh Courier and the Soul Pit Quarterly, and she frequently contributes articles to the University of Pittsburgh publications. She's a case manager for a local women's shelter and a family service support coordinator for Three Rivers Youth. She's the founder of Woman-to-Woman Empowerment Symposium and founder and director of Softer Side Seminars, which is an empowerment and self-esteem building program for women and girls. She is also a member of Macedonia Baptist Church and believes that every individual is worthy and should be moving to discover and operate in God's plans for their lives. Welcome, Renee.
Welcome, thank you.
I am so glad to finally get to meet you. I've heard so many wonderful things about you.
You're so kind, I appreciate that.
Yes, you have an excellent,
that.
I had just heard good things about you. The first thing I'd like to talk with you about is your woman-to-woman empowerment seminar or symposium. What does that consist of?
Yes, thank you. I'll be glad to tell you a little bit about that. The Woman-to-Woman Empowerment Symposium was an annual event I gave every year under the auspices of Softer Side Seminars.
Oh, okay.
It was a platform for a way to bring people together, to convene women, to inspire them, educate them, inform them, entertain them, and just pour into them some of the thoughts and concepts that come along with developing a healthy sense of self, because that's what Softer Side Seminars is.
So which came first? The
Softer
symposium
Side
or Softer Side Seminars?
Softer Side Seminars came first.
And then the symposium is the result of
Right.
that.
We started Softer Side Seminars in around 2003. And I didn't have the first woman-to-woman event until like 2006.
And how successful was that?
Well, we had them for 15 years, and
Oh,
we
great.
just had a celebration in 2017 of those 15 years.
Oh, okay.
And
great.
that's the clip that
we're
we
going to
put
see in a
together
little
some
while.
clips announcing that celebration.
Okay. And let me remind the audience that this is a call-in show. So if you have questions or want to make comments, please feel free and give us a call. Now, Renee, from the Softer Side Seminar to the Woman and Woman Empowerment Symposium, what do you think are some of the causes that causes women to lose their self-esteem and doubt themselves, that they would need something like the Softer Side or the symposium?
There's a lot of reasons that women are just embroiled in low self-esteem. Some of it comes from media images. You think you should look like the person on television. You think you should look like a fashion model. Some of it comes from well-meaning family and friends suggesting that perhaps you weigh too much, or that maybe you're too light, or maybe you're too dark. Some of it starts when we're very young, toddlers. You're so cute, but you look like your dad. You know, those kind of negative things that are slung at people. When we're born, we're here with a clean slate.
Right.
We don't know what we are, good, bad, or in between.
Or what we will become.
Or what we will become.
Right.
But by the time other people start caring for us, it's their language that we start to internalize. Your hair is so nappy, I can't do anything with this. And imagine that times 15. You hear that over and over again. Then you get older, you go to school. You don't know what other people are hearing in their homes. They put that on. Teachers, unfortunately, sometimes
so
they're negative.
how do you think that affects the relationships that we develop over the years? Friendships when we're in school, start dating, getting married, and then having our own children.
I'll tell you how it affects it. The way you feel about yourself is the way you believe everybody else does. And you take
Wait,
that
say that
with
again.
you.
Repeat that again.
The Softer Side Seminars operates under the premise that what you think of yourself, the way you feel about yourself is what you believe everybody else does. And if you think you're inadequate, if you think you're unworthy, if you think you're not smart enough because of all the negative stuff that you've absorbed, and you start a job, even though you were hired for it, your first inclination is that, well, these people really think it too. It might not even be on the surface of your mind.
But subconsciously.
But subconsciously, these people think it too. So then sometimes you act that out. I don't know, sometimes you encounter women and they seem to kind of have an attitude. They have a chip on their shoulder all the time. I know that, I don't know about anybody else, and I'm not trying to be politically incorrect, but over my work career, I've often run into women who just seem to be angry all the time, and I never could figure out.
That's the term that came out about the angry black woman.
Yes, and sometimes it's, who knows what the reasons are, but a lot of it is because they have their own insecurities, and they have their own sense of self that's not healthy, and they're believing that other people do as well, so they're coming off negative. Okay. And that's how I think it impacts relationships.
So what inspired you to start, or what did something occur to make you see the need for the softer side?
Well, I was thinking about that on the way over here. Yeah, because I often get asked that question, and I said, I think I should just tell the truth.
Yes.
And I believe that actually God put this inside of me to fix some of the things that were wrong with me.
Oh, okay.
I was home minding my business, taking care of my kids, going to work every day. I was very happy to be doing that and not to be standing up in front of people talking about self-esteem. Trust me. And I read an article in Essence magazine about women and how they should act for men so that men will love them. And that kind of bothered me. Yeah, it was an article saying, here's some things that I learned from men that they're looking for. And they will help. I have the copy of it. I saved it. And it was a list of things. And I couldn't rest that night because I said, well, what can women do to love themselves better? What about that? So that they're not so angry all the time. So they're not engaging drama all the time.
And where's our list?
Where's our list? Yes. So that night I actually got up and I went downstairs and I started putting together a list of things and playing around with the word softer and all of that. And I just, by 3 o'clock in the morning, there was this format of Softer Side seminars. And at the time I was calling it Welcome to the Softer Side. How to enter a softer, more loving relationship with ourselves. So we're not always looking for men or other people or jobs or organizations to validate us.
Yeah.
And that was a long time ago, and I don't think a lot of people were doing that then, and now a lot of people are doing it. So, that's
so
not a bad thing.
when you first started the Softer Side, how was it received from the women?
Outstanding.
Really?
And the only reason I know that is because of where I formerly used to work, I learned that when you do something, you provide a means for people to evaluate it. So we started it at a little theater in Bloomfield. And I had about 28 or 32 of my friends and family there. And my two sisters and my aunt prepared a reception, and I just had this event called Welcome to the Softer Side. And then I went down the 9 steps to the softer side. Be yourself. A little something about love. Joy comes from the inside out. these were some of the steps. Get over the past, you know, but they had fancy names. They
So
had fancy
where
names.
how did you come up with the name Softer Side?
Well,
Because women do have a softer side.
yeah, because that night, when I was thinking about some stuff about women, I was thinking we're often too hard on ourselves. We blame ourselves for everything. We feel guilty about stuff. You ever notice how often we're often saying, "Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry." Always, "I'm
Yeah,
sorry. I'm
yeah.
sorry." And you know, for what? So, as I continued to think about it, I said, we need to be softer to ourselves.
Okay.
We need to enter that softer, more loving relationship with ourselves. And if we do that, it will spill over to our environment, to our families, to our children, to friends, significant others. And I'm not saying that everybody's going to fall for it or everybody's going to love it, but you would, oh, sorry, I was
That's
touching
okay.
my mic.
That's okay.
But you at least will be at a greater sense of peace because you're not always poised and ready to pounce on yourself or anyone else. So that's where the name came from.
Okay.
And I just kind of stuck with that,
Yeah, yeah.
you know.
And it fits. Yeah, and it fits you.
Enter a softer, more loving relationship with yourself first.
Okay.
That's first, because until you do that, anything else you do,
And that's something that we're not taught to do.
no.
We're not
No.
taught to do that.
And not to mistake, I think it's important that I clear up that I'm not talking about arrogance, being cocky, being overbearing, or I'm better than you. You know, I'm not talking about any of those four things.
Yeah.
I'm simply talking about give yourself what you would give someone else. Spend time getting to know who you are.
And sometimes we need to pat ourselves on the back.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And not expect, sometimes we just need to do it for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because people, women don't do that. They absolutely, and it creates a series of, like a domino effect, you know. You feel like you're not getting praise from others. You don't praise yourself. You begin to feel bad about that. You start believing, maybe, again, things that you're not worthy, that you always have to go around seeking attention. And that creates, depression
So how
or whatever.
difficult do you think it is for some women to recognize that and work on that?
It is difficult.
Yeah.
And I say this often, any efforts that you're making towards self-repair or self-reflection has to be intentional. Like on one of those clips I had this quote once, it said, if you leave your success to chance, chances are it's not going to happen. And that's the
Okay,
same.
say that again.
If you leave your success, or whatever you want to place with the word success,
Okay.
to chance, chances are it's not going to
And
happen.
that's true.
Just like, how many times have you
Yeah.
told somebody, let's get together sometime, let's get together,
And we say, okay,
and we
but
say
we never
okay,
do.
and you're not intentional about it. Intentional, I speak to groups, women's groups a lot, and I have run some groups in the evening for a couple of years talking about various subjects around empowerment, and that they will all tell you, Renee says intentionality is the key to anything. If you're not intentional, it could happen, but also it could not.
And I imagine, too, that it's very difficult for women. If they've been treated and taught one thing, it's very difficult for them to step back and take a look at themselves
Absolutely.
and identify things that they need to change.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
now, are there techniques that you teach them how to do that in your seminars?
Yes,
Okay.
depending upon the topic. For instance, let's just take this one thing. One of the things in my book, and we can talk about that later, I have what we call 8 steps to the softer side, just for the book.
Okay.
And the first one is, let's say, find your wings. What does that mean? If you're still living in your mother's house and you can afford to move out, and you don't
You
have
need to
any
move.
encumbrance, and you haven't moved,
You need to move.
That's a problem. If you're still on a job that you know that you can do better, like I did for years, but you're staying there, hunkered down in the corner, hoping that you're not being noticed, you're not spreading your wings. Maybe you don't even know you have wings. Maybe your wings are rusted over for lack of use. That's the way mine were. Well, you should find your wings and you should take flight. So in the back of the book, I listed, for instance, we call them mission. Mission 1, to find your wings. Here's some tips on pursuing this mission. Pray for guidance. Map out a strategy to begin. Seek a mentor. Let's just say you say, I'm 38 years old. I really want to go back to nursing school. Find somebody that did it.
Did that, yes.
You know? Research your options. Maybe nursing is not the job for you. If you research it and you find out that you have to deal with blood and you have to change bandages, you know, then prepare your environment for whatever impact the change may have. Now, by that I mean if you're married and you have a 13-year-old, a 9-year-old, and a 7-year-old, your environment is going to be impacted by you deciding to go back to school.
Exactly.
So you've got to look at that environment. That should not stop you, but look at it and see what adjustments need to be made.
And seeing all the things that you've identified here, most people, maybe I shouldn't say most, but they don't know how to do that. They don't even know how to sit down and make a plan.
Well,
And-
maybe not, but if you
yeah.
think about it, if you're...
But we do plan,
Yes,
but we don't
right.
realize we're doing it.
Right. You don't realize you're
Yeah.
doing it.
I see we have a call waiting. Caller, would you please state your name and where you're calling from and your question?
Hi, this is Donna from Homewood.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for the show. I think women all over need this show. What I wanted to say was the media is so powerful. It seems to make African American women the lowest on the totem pole in so many categories. And it's so difficult to overpower those images. That Black is Beautiful era seems to be kind of over as far as the media is concerned. And I'm wondering, how can we counteract those images and those things? Because our youth, especially the young ones, they're always on the media, either social media or on looking at TV, and they just take in those images. It's sort of like ingrained in them. What can we do to overpower those things?
That's a very good question.
Okay, thank you for your call, and you want to
Well,
respond
the
to
first
that?
thing, let me say this, and thank you for that question, Donna. First of all, if you look around, thank goodness the tide is changing a little bit.
Little bit.
There's more diversity in the media images we see this define us. When they use women of color, they're using all colors now and not just light-skinned ones. When they use women of color, they're using all sizes. So that helps. But the main thing about it is, one of the ways to mitigate that, to answer Donna's question, is to just keep in mind that they are just that word, images. They're not real. Magazines, the faces and bodies on magazines are airbrushed. Nobody really looks that smooth. It's to keep in mind. And in our homes, if we have girls, I'm telling you, and I really did try to do this with my daughter, we need to constantly be pouring into them just how awesome they are, and that it doesn't take all of that, that your beauty, first of all, looks have to do with character, and if you develop your character, you could look like
You'll
a
be
crocodile, and you'll still be beautiful if you can develop your character. How many times have you seen an absolutely gorgeous woman, presumably, but as soon as she starts opening her mouth, her beauty goes out the window.
That's right. That's
because that character is shaky.
Well, thank you so much. It always reminds me of Maya Angelou's poem, Phenomenal Woman.
Yes,
It's
yes.
we're
If all the
phenomenal.
women, if all the young women and women can read that poem and really internalize it, I think it would help a lot.
Absolutely.
That's
You're
true.
absolutely
That's
correct.
true. And since we
Well,
have
thank you
moved
so
in,
much, and keep up the good work.
Thank
okay.
you.
Thank you very much for your call. And keep
You're
watching,
welcome.
because we're
Bye-bye.
going to show a clip right now since we're talking about the softer side. I understand that you brought a clip
Yes.
about the softer side seminars.
I brought a clip about Woman to Woman Empowerment Symposium, the
Okay.
annual event
Okay.
that we
And-
celebrated.
Okay, thank you. I'll watch.
Okay,
Okay, very
thanks.
good.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
So we're ready for the clip now.
Heard a voice that told me I'm essential. How all my fears are limiting my potential.
This is Renee Aldrich, and I'm the founder and director of Softer Side Seminars. So excited to let you know about our upcoming celebration on Saturday, November 4th, 2017. We're celebrating 15 years of Softer Side Seminars and 10 years of Woman to Woman Empowerment Symposium. And this program is going to be comprised of music and celebration and awarding and fundraising. We're going to be honoring Dr. Angela Ford, Health Program Manager for Black Women's Health Imperative, and Erica Upshaw Givner, owner and lead clinician at Vision Towards Peace and co-founder of A Peace of Mind. We honor people who have deposited into the self-esteem of other women. Let's take a listen now to some individuals who joined us over the years, and let's see what they have to say about their experience at Woman to Woman Empowerment Symposium.
Hello, my name is Andre Scott. I'm here speaking on behalf of the Softer Side Seminars, hosted by Miss Renee Aldrich. I really just want to say thank you to her for extending the offer to me to be on a male panel for a women's empowerment process. Really speaking from a single father's perspective, was able to help the ladies in the room gain a deeper understanding and a deeper appreciation for exactly what they do. Also was able to build relationships with the other males on the panel. There was a doctor present, there was a few other gentlemen present, to where we were able to collaborate and just combine ideas to where we can put more tools in the ladies' tool belts, so to speak. It was a great experience. I hope she invites me to more, and congratulations for 10 years of greatness. Love you.
Heard a voice that told me I'm essential. How all my fears are limiting my potential. Said it's time to step into the light and use every bit of the power I have inside. And so what you waiting on? Who you waiting for? If you don't take a chance, you'll never know what's in store.
Oh, that was very interesting. So
Love that.
how do the men receive the information that you share with the women?
Well, it's funny you should ask that, because after 15 years or 10 years, I did start this program targeting women only and young girls. And since we had the celebration and I was trying to see where God was taking this, or me, maybe I leave it alone, just do other things now, just right, I've repurposed it.
Two.
I've repurposed it by, first of all, I started a private Facebook group, and it's now called Self-Esteem Back to the Basics. Self-Esteem 101, Back to the Basics. And then a topic associated with that. Get over your past.
Okay.
Spread your wings. Take off your mask.
Okay.
And I have many men in the group.
Really?
Yes. Men have joined the group. I've accepted them. And stemming from that wonderful outcome of that event, when we did have a men's panel there, I remember at the end, the guys were saying, and by the way, I met them random and asked them random. They didn't know each other even before that event. And they just really gelled. And they said, oh, you should do this for men, you should do this for men. And I said, no, I should not do it for men.
Men should do
A
it for men.
man should do it for a
men.
man.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
And I kind of stuck with that. But as we've transitioned to a new phase of it, it occurred to me that the conversations that we have is for everyone. It's for everyone.
And how are the men receiving it?
Well,
Really?
they stick and stay. They give me comments when I do live videos. They're on. They're listening. And I know how to, use language so that they feel comfortable. I think that's important.
So how are they dealing, to your knowledge, how are they dealing with the changes that they see in their women?
Now that is not a
'Cause they're
question
used
that I
to-
have an answer for. But I think the men that are there are ready for that.
Really?
And change doesn't necessarily, the change or adjustments, I like to call them adjustments,
okay.
that you make in your life should actually enhance
The
your
relationship,
relationship.
yes.
Absolutely. And if the man is, open to even listening to such a thing, I think clearly they would be opening to everybody doing better, taking their life to the next
Well, see,
level.
some men can't handle change.
I know that, exactly.
Yeah.
That's so true.
Yeah.
And maybe being a part of this will help that.
So do you envision doing seminars just for men to help them identify things that they need to change with themselves? within
Again, I don't
themselves?
think that I'm the one to do that, but I wouldn't mind
Having
being
a male
involved,
partner?
right,
Okay.
with a man that wanted to do that.
Do you think men would respond to that?
That's a tough one because men are slow to gather for that kind of thing. They will gather. They will gather, and it depends on the language you use, and it depends on where they are in their lives.
Okay, that's true.
That's
true.
It
And
depends
their
on where they
careers
are.
and stuff. Yeah.
In another lifetime, I used to do some health education, and we often held health events for men, and they were pretty well populated.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, they were pretty well populated.
Okay. So where do you have a book? You want to hold up your book?
Sure.
And
I
the
wrote
book
this
is,
book. It's
what's the
called-
book called?
It's called Notes from the Softer Side,
And where can we find this?
a roadmap to achieving God's plan for your life. And this book can be found on Amazon, on Barnes & Noble.
Okay.
And it is a collection of the presentations I've done over the years.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And like I said, in the back of each book, there includes steps. Like this, step number 3 is drop the mask and free yourself by being yourself. And it talks about, basically quit pretending to be something you're not. And in the back, there are action steps towards
Okay.
dropping the mask. And just to give you 4 of them real quick, the first one is getting to know yourself. You'll be surprised in how interesting your true self really is. If not, develop new interests. You'll
Okay.
be so busy cultivating your new interests, you won't have time to keep hiding behind the mask. Lend a hand to someone who needs it. They'll teach you how to appreciate your true self. And then acknowledge that this is an issue for you. Again, pray for guidance in honoring your unique qualities that make the real you too special to hide.
And I think another issue for women is facing our fears. Or
Absolutely.
acknowledging that we have fears,
Fears,
and facing our fears, because
Right.
I think fear holds
Right.
a lot of women back from doing things.
We are now working on the book, Back to the Basics 101.
Okay.
Building Self-Esteem Back to the Basics 101. And that is one of the chapters.
Oh, is
Facing
it?
our fears,
Okay,
yes.
okay.
Yes, fear is.
Because
fear
you
is the
can't
best
move
tool, right.
until you get those fears out of your path.
Fear is a great tool of the enemy. The enemy loves it when you're afraid.
Yeah.
Because
and
you're
and
trapped.
fear of failure too
Absolutely.
holds us back from attempting to try new things.
And fear of success. That
You
holds
think?
absolutely. Why do you want to be successful when then you have to keep that up? Yes, fear of success,
Wow.
fear that this is really going to work. It's going to take off. And then I'll have to prove to everybody that I can keep it up. So you have to,
Did you experience
that's a
that when
great
you
one.
started your?
Absolutely. Which is why.
Did
which
you
is
have
why-
a fear that it wouldn't work, or that?
Actually, at the beginning, I didn't. I didn't
Okay.
have any fear of anything. I read this book called, not at the time, but later, called Too Soon Old, Too Late Smart. That's the name of the book.
Okay.
And there's one of the chapters in there that I read and reread is called Be Bold, and mighty forces will come to your aid. And I was just bold in coming up, when I came up with the concept and was pushing it, even though I didn't know where that inertia was coming from.
Right.
I promise you it wasn't me. I did not need to stand in front of women. I just boldly thought, well, I'll have some event. Well, someone will give me a space to use. And well, I'll have some food. So I took those kind of steps. But yes, ultimately, after I did it about 4 or 5 times, I thought, okay, this is pretty scary.
Okay.
This looks like it's working out.
So,
what will I do?
so you started it for women and young girls.
Yes.
What's the age bracket that you should start working with young girls on this? How soon?
Well, really,
8, 9, 10?
kindergarten girls need to know that they are just beautiful,
Okay.
just the way they are.
Okay.
There's you age appropriately.
Okay.
You can start navigating young little girls through their own self-esteem.
Okay.
And one way to do it now, and I see the trend is changing, is by having the things they utilize look like them.
Yes.
Dolls.
Dolls, yes.
Books.
Yes.
Storybooks. There are now lots of little girls that have done things like written books. I know a young lady, a local young lady, I'm going to give her a shout out because I love her and her mother. She was one of the people that I interviewed for a series I was writing once. And her name is Leah Baker. When she was 11 years old, she started a cupcake.
Did she?
Yes, a company called Cupcakes Most Wanted.
Okay.
And they were absolutely amazing. And she's now 16 and just doing great things with that. So
Okay.
exposing them to young, and you gotta look, again, you have to be intentional. See where something is happening with, African American young girls and expose your children
So then the
to that.
parents need to be,
Absolutely. Absolutely. Or caregivers or whoever is in the charge, of these children. I think a kindergarten is the right time,
to start.
to really expose young girls to who it is they could be. And the reason I say that is because it never dawned on me that maybe I could be a news reporter when I was 16, 17, 18, 19. I think the first black, news reporter I saw was a black man after I was about 28 years old in
Yeah.
Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
So the sooner you can start, at least with exposure, the chances are greater that they'll get it earlier and they won't have to be struggling trying to find their
Find their way,
self-esteem
yeah.
back when they're 28, 29 years
So
old.
what's your next step for Softer Side? Where do you?
More writing,
Okay.
more public speaking, always open to, bringing together, convening women or going to women where women are being convened to have these conversations. And I started the Facebook group. It had to do with finding a way to repurpose it. And I thought we could do something called community conversations about self-esteem. And I started it with the Facebook group. And we've had 2 community conversations, one in Wilkinsburg in February, and then one this past August in East Liberty,
Okay.
where we came together and had a community conversation. And I call them small groups.
Okay.
When I used to do woman-to-woman empowerment symposium, I was looking for a room full of people, and often we did get large groups.
Are
But
you still doing the symposiums? No.
Those are over.
Those forever?
Well, they're over for now.
For now. Okay. Okay.
And the small group conversations, though, they're easier to facilitate, and they allow for a sense of intimacy.
You think that works better?
I think think it works well.
Okay.
It works well.
Okay.
You know, I won't say better because the engagement in the Woman to Woman Empowerment Symposium was tremendous. And one of my clips is from one of those that where we did pulling ourselves from the stuck
Is
places.
that the second clip
Yes.
we're going to see? Okay, so we can look at that second clip now.
I came to win,
That's
to fight, to conquer, to thrive. I came to win.
I'm Renee Aldrich, and this is my event I host every year, Woman to Woman Empowerment Symposium.
They know that you're here because you were in some stuck places at the PR.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Tiffany Huff, and I have a business called The Best You.
The next question is, you can feel free to read this if you want to. I knew I was stuck when I would wake up every day and go to the mirror and see someone, but it wasn't me. Who I was looking at in the mirror, I couldn't really see who she was. I didn't know who she was.
My current situation is that my pain has given birth to my purpose. And like I said, I now run a personal development and coaching business for women to build a community of women who are empowered to live in their purpose. And so, I went through a whole lot, much more that can be summarized in these 6 to 8 sentences.
This is the 7th one. We had the largest crowd ever. We had a very impactful topic, pulling ourselves from the stuck places. I'm so pleased at the energy that was created in this room surrounded this important topic. We had women, a panel of women sharing the places where they've been stuck and their triumphant transfer out of those places. This is important because too often women don't realize, number one, when they're stuck and that they are stuck and that they should work to get out of a stuck place. Too often women believe that that's part of being a woman, that you're just stuck in some place. Maybe your job is unfulfilling. Maybe you're still grieving for something that happened to you. And women do not give themselves the power to say, I deserve to be elevated beyond this place.
I came to win, to fight, to conquer, to thrive. I came to win, to survive, to prosper, to rise, to fly.
Well, and it sounds like the fear is the biggest obstacle.
it is.
And once they overcome that fear.
The sky's the limit. The sky's the limit.
So since you've been doing the seminars and working with women, have you had, how many successes have you had?
In terms of?
Of women that have recognized it,
Yeah.
worked on it, and was successful at changing their lives.
I'm pleased to say that I often get calls, or like when I was doing a weekly group in Wilkinsburg, and we would cover the different topics, and and I gave them out a copy of the book. Excuse me. And I had them call and say, I really use this and look at it kind of like as a guide, as a weekly guide, just to get me through different things. That's really empowering to me.
Okay.
As I continue to transition through my own issues. This kind of stuff is ongoing.
It's ongoing, yes, it is.
Ongoing.
It has to be ongoing, yes.
Absolutely. You
Yes.
don't get to a resting place, with this. You just get to a place where you know when something occurs, when you're feeling fearful, and you can say, now this is coming out of my fear, and this fear is not necessary. The worst thing that can happen is so and so and so and so. And if that happens, I'll get over it. It comes, getting past the fear begins with learning to trust who you are and whose you are. And if you're a person of faith, that can only help even astronomically. You have to always know that you're plugged into your power source.
And that sounds like you have to be conscious of that daily. You have to
Absolutely.
daily, every day.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And if you do that, if we did that, you would be surprised that there would not be room for the petty nonsense that crosses our desk, our face, our ears. If we're focused on staying connected to our power source so that we can keep our confidence level increased, if we're focused on whatever it is we should be creating or writing or making or telling, it's liberating, because then you're not burdened down with sometimes the drama that people try to bring
And then
to
when
you.
you're focused on stuff like that, the negative stuff,
There's no room for
you
it.
don't, right, you don't
There's
even
no
pay
room for
attention
it.
to it, yes.
And that's going to be more important than ever because, the world, our situation, social media always tells us that somebody is bigger, badder, bester than us,
Yeah.
We have to really, again, it's called being intentional.
So you're doing smaller groups now.
That's the goal.
Okay,
yes,
so
smaller
if
groups.
if an organization would like for you to come, like a church or another organization would like for you to come and maybe run a one-day, couple hours,
Absolutely.
you're available for that.
Absolutely.
And how can they reach you?
They can reach me at my email address, which is 3 words, the softer side, 303 at gmail.com. The softer side, 303 at gmail.com. Or they can call me. I'll give my phone number out.
Okay.
And I have no qualms with that. The number is 412-606-5807. I'm not afraid of, I'm not going to give my phone number out. That never frightens me because I'll just hang up. So easy. It's so easy.
Well, you are one busy lady, and I will lay money that when every
Sounds
morning when your feet hits the floor, the devil said, "Oh no, she's up."
I have been busy years ago, but I'm not so busy anymore. I have a 2-year-old grandson.
Oh,
I would
congratulations!
shout out to him. And
You have what, 2 children?
I have 2 children, a girl and a son and a daughter.
Okay, and grandchildren?
And 1 grandchild,
Okay.
Karan Joshua.
Okay, and he's 2?
He's 2. He was 2 yesterday, day before yesterday. So, I'm busy with that.
So
and
did you raise your children based on some of the things from the softer side?
No, I raised my children in hopes that they would be productive human beings in society. and from what I learned from my own mother and grandmother. And thank goodness, because we get no instruction book with that.
No, you don't.
You get no instruction book. They just hand it to you and say, have a nice life. Oh, change his diaper and give him a bottle. And so I just thank God every day that they're pretty solid. They're pretty solid people.
And you're still active with the where you're working with the 3 Rivers?
I work at 3 Rivers Youth, yes. I'm
And
a
what type
family
of program
support.
is that?
It's a program that supports families and supports individuals going through drug and alcohol
Okay.
treatment. It also has an intervention program into schools.
Oh.
Right. One of the big pieces we have now is the foster care program. And we're all in search for foster families because there's so many children that just don't have stable homes. So
So do you work closely with CYS?
yes, we do actually,
Okay,
because
okay.
we get many of our families that we have to help come from a CYF situation. Yeah.
And I understand that you do some writing for the Pittsburgh Courier
Yeah, I'm
and the
a
Soul
freelance
Pit
writer.
Quarterlies.
Yes.
What are some of the things that you write about?
I cover events.
Oh, do you? Okay,
Yes,
okay.
cover events. I
Okay.
do feature stories on individuals. Over the past couple years ago, the Macaulay Ministries came to the Courier, and they wanted to be involved in changing the landscape of some of the negative press that African American youth were getting.
Yeah.
So over a 2-year time period, I wrote 24 stories of positive African American females and women in this city.
Good.
And that was a very rewarding time for me because we let the public nominate.
Okay, we have one caller waiting. Caller, would you please state your name and where you're calling from and your question?
Okay, my name is Chanel Simmons, and I'm calling from McKeesport, Pennsylvania.
Oh, hello, Shamel.
How are you ladies?
Great.
I am so lucky to know you. You're two of the most dynamic women that I know. And I just want to hope that everyone that's tuned into the show will listen and pass the word. And you have a wonderful day. And I thank you, and I'm so blessed, again, like I said, to know you. Have a wonderful evening.
Well,
Have a
thank
good
you for
night.
calling, Shamel.
Okay.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
And Renee, I see also that you received an award, the Woman of Excellence,
Yes.
from the Pittsburgh Courier.
Yeah,
Now, what was that all about?
The Courier does an annual celebration of women. And I was in one of the cohorts, I think 2013 maybe. I was in one of the cohorts. They honor men and women, and they have a 40 under 40
Okay.
that they do.
Okay.
And I was one of those women.
Okay.
And that was fun. You know,
Was it?
to
Okay,
get
great.
to go to lunch
Great.
and get up on stage and be acknowledged.
And you won a first prize winner for creative nonfiction at Carlow University Creative Writing Department.
Yes.
So you write fiction,
Yeah. I write nonfiction.
nonfiction,
Right.
and you do poems, poetry.
Yes.
Oh, okay. You are a busy lady. What gets you up in the
Either
morning?
that or you have a lot of time on your hands.
What gets you up in the morning?
Just,
When you wake up and lay in there in the bed, what says, oh, I got to get up because I got such and such to do?
Just motivated to keep making it happen.
Okay.
You know, just trying to pour into others and help other women be all that they can be, and knowing that there's so much to be done.
To be done, yes.
You know,
yes.
that's part of
yes.
it. But I
it's-
just can't take that credit really. I just
Well,
just trying to
see, there you go. You just mentioned
I
earlier
know.
about we don't give ourselves credit,
Right,
enough
right.
credit for what we do.
right. Yeah,
So
when
take
I
the
wrote
credit.
that, I did think of that.
Yeah, take the credit. Yeah.
I'm grateful. I'm grateful for the opportunity to serve. I think it's a blessing. Anytime.
And when you talk about moving, like the different life stages, you say moving from, from good to better to best.
Yeah.
So you're
Yeah.
looking at like 3 different stages that you move through life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that.
And then when you become your best self, though, but you still have to maintain, you got to maintain
you
that.
have to maintain.
The
And
maintenance.
really, it's not that complicated. That's the basis of the new book, Back to the Basics. It's not that complicated. You know,
It
quit
sounds
looking
complicated.
quit looking over your shoulder, look forward, remove toxic people from your life. They're just going to suck the life out of you. Recognize them, move on, and it's okay. You don't have to feel guilty about it.
But how do you remove toxic people from your life if it's family members, good friends?
Family members and good friends sometimes become a challenge. But you know what? If you take 3 steps back from them where their arm can't reach you anymore when they're trying to hit you beside your head, and just take 3 steps back every time, eventually their arm will get tired.
Okay.
Their arm will get tired. But you have to recognize and have the courage to say, this is not, I deserve better.
Okay.
And that's pretty basic.
Now, when will this new book come out?
It's probably some months away.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
So we have to have you back when you finish the book.
It's probably some months
Yeah,
away. but
yeah.
I'm encouraged because, again, I can't say this enough. I consider it a total blessing that I'm some kind of vessel or tool in hopes that somebody somehow, some way can hear something that's going to benefit them.
Well, I
And
think we all have to try to inspire. So you
Right.
inspire other women to do some of the things that they need to do.
But it also has to do with what I needed. Because every
Okay.
time we have any kind of conversation with groups like about getting over the past, and I'm telling them how important it is, and I'm saying that there's a reason that the rear view mirror in your car is this small and the front mirror is this big. There's a reason for that.
What's the
Because
reason?
you're not supposed to spend all that time in that small mirror.
Looking back.
Yeah, right. Every time we do something like that, pretty much I walk away saying, okay, now I remember. You know, I'm still learning how to
Okay.
get this right.
Okay.
You know, I'm still learning. There's another group we do called Avoiding Hostile Confrontations. They cause more trouble than they solve. You know.
And I think, too, how do you get women to recognize, you talk about the path that God has for you. So how do you get people to recognize that they're on the wrong path?
You know, sometimes I think people know.
Okay.
I think people know. If you're on the wrong, headed in the wrong direction, I know that doesn't feel right. I'm convinced, as sure as I'm sitting here.
And speaking of that, when computers first came out back in what, the 60s maybe, 50s, 60s, early 60s?
It was around approximately,
I
it might have been in the early 70s
Okay.
for me.
I wanted to be a computer programmer.
Okay.
I went to CCAC
Okay.
and took the course. I flunked.
Okay.
I went back, re-signed up again. I flunked again. Then
Okay.
the instructor said to me, she said, Alice, she said, it's
This
not
is not
meant
for
for
you.
you. Yeah, she said, it's not meant for you. You're not meant to be a computer programmer.
Okay.
I ended up in the School of Social Work.
That is not.
And I
that's
listened to
possibly
her. She
true.
said, don't come back to this class because it's not meant for you.
What do you think your struggle was? What was your biggest struggle?
I couldn't get that computer language together.
Everybody's brain is not wired for that. And I asked that question because I remember when
And I studied and
Right.
studied.
Yeah.
I could
The
do
brain
it.
is not wired for it. When they brought him to our office, I was working at the National Science Foundation in Washington, D.C. Everybody on our whole unit, we were on the second, third, and fourth floors, got it, but me. I could not get through the training. I couldn't, what? It's just your brain.
I
My
couldn't
brain is wired for language, for
Yes.
words,
Yes.
for putting sentences together.
And people.
And people.
Helping people.
That it was called Information Systems Management.
Yes.
ISM.
Yes. I couldn't get that to save my life. I couldn't do it.
As God would have it, I was able to get savvy enough to work on word processing.
Yeah.
So I'm a whiz at that.
Yeah.
Word processing, computer, doing letters, cutting, paste, whatever, do all that. But those other things, I was the only one.
Yeah.
So I know it's not meant for everybody.
And I finally reached a point in my life that I recognize when this is not meant for me.
Right. And there's nothing wrong with
right,
that.
And I move on. I go around it and keep it moving.
Right.
Yeah.
One of the things we talk about, and like the group now on Facebook is talking about authenticity.
Okay.
That all that stuff doesn't matter if you're not coming from a place of authenticity.
And that's true.
And in discovering what it is to be authentic, the formula is, number one, to know yourself, own yourself, and be yourself. And in doing that, it's okay to say, I know I'm never going to be a bridge builder. I don't have to do that.
Right.
That's okay. I don't have to do that. So I'm glad we share those computer challenges. I definitely was.
Yeah. And I guess that's what your seminar does. It helps women recognize
yes.
what's not for them. This
That's
is not
right.
meant for you.
And that's okay.
Right.
You know, we have to, again, in our softer, more loving relationship with ourselves and accept, you know, that maybe, and this is a tough one because a lot of people don't find it, is maybe whole college is not for you.
That's true.
You know,
That's
but
true.
maybe you were meant to be a medical billing coder. You know, but the intricacies of what college gives you is not for you.
Yeah, yeah. Now, during your seminars, do you help the women? How do you help them? When we first started talking about the angry black woman, how do you help them get past that anger and put it in their pocket and keep it moving?
One of the things I always say when we used to start out with the seminars, even before we started the annual event, because I was just strictly doing the 9 steps to the softer side, and one of them was drop the hostility.
Yeah, I see that so much in young women. Yeah.
I would always start out with that if you are here because somebody made you come, this is not going to be for you.
Yeah.
Anybody here, did your mother make you? Did a judge make you? Or are you here because you're at a place in your life where you're trying to figure out what's going on?
Yeah.
And if you are, then they will hear the conversation about the hostility doesn't work.
And it doesn't. It holds you back.
It holds you back.
It does.
And it gives you ulcers and it creates fibroids and all of that. I actually know a woman that I work with that had such antipathy and anger for our manager. That, I mean, it was so vitriol, just every day.
Yeah, and I know
that
people like that.
I think it made her sick. She
Yeah.
got sick
Yeah.
because of it. So that's the answer to that question. I want you to be here because you're ready.
You're ready to change.
And if you're
Some
ready.
changes and do the work.
Yes.
You're ready to do the work.
You're ready to do
And
the
on
work.
that note, we're almost out of time. I want to thank you for joining us this evening, and we will have you back.
It's my pleasure.
And I hope
It's
to
my
get to know
pleasure.
you better because I've heard so many good things about you.
I'm so grateful for this
Yes,
opportunity.
yes,
Really,
yes,
I am.
yes.
I appreciate you.
And tell people again where they can get your book.
On Amazon or on Barnes & Noble, and the title, if you type in the title, Notes from the Softer Side, it's going to jump right up. It's one of the first things in my name.
So they can go online and order it through
Yes,
Amazon.com.
yes,
And how
yes.
much is it?
It is, I believe, $10.99.
Oh, that's not
Yeah,
bad.
it's very reasonable.
Yes, yes, okay. Has it sold well? Did it do well?
You know, it's done very well. I've been to various books, you know, where they have huge events for selling books. And so we even had one in my church, and our pastor let you know, they pick certain books. So we've done very well, and I always get great feedback.
Okay, very good. And your second book will be out in a couple months?
Not a couple months, some months.
This year?
Oh,
No.
definitely not 2000. Definitely not 2019.
Okay, well, thank you for joining us this
Thank you
evening.
so
And to
much.
the audience, I want to thank you for tuning in, listening to our program this evening. And please keep us in mind. And we're here the first Friday of every month. So thank you. And thank you, Renee.
And thank you. My
Yes.
pleasure.
Yes, yes.
You're broken down and tired of living life on the merry-go-round, and you can't find a fighter, but I see it in you, so we gon' walk it out. Move mountains, we gon' walk it out and move mountains.